Hey everyone, Chennington here, excited to bring you my last video for 2017. Many of you know me primarily for creating vaporwave content with this channel. However, with this video, I kind of want to do something a little different to conclude my first couple of months as a YouTuber and wrap up the year 2017 as a whole. This time, I'm going to be picking through the entirety of my vinyl record collection and showcase a couple of the records I picked up along the way this year that I really ended up enjoying. I'm going to kind of go off the script on this video. I'm just going to talk as I feel like it, besides what I wrote down for the records I chose. I'm going to be exploring a couple different genres here, so hopefully I'll introduce you to an album or an artist you've never heard of before, and maybe you'll end up liking them. I'm sure you will. If you're a vaporwave fan, vinyl record collector, or just music enthusiast in general, click that subscribe button, as 2018 is going to be a huge year for this channel, as I'm really working hard on this thing, and I'm going to be executing some new and exciting content to bring to the table. Currently working on locking down some interviews with some of the biggest artists and figures in the vaporwave genre, and even looking into doing some possible live streaming sessions where a discussion piece or a music review could go even more in depth, not just by me only, but having you guys there on the spot. We could throw ideas off each other, to listen to a song, see how we feel about it. Ultimately, my goal is to build a community with this channel, more than just a video or just a stereotypical YouTube channel where there's like some guy who's dying to be the next YouTube personality. Me, I like to just, not show my face and purely be judged on my creative discussion for what it is. So thank you all for who's been along for this grammatically incorrect journey, because I don't know how to speak. And to anyone who's new, I hope you click that subscribe button. But yeah, before I just keep rambling on, here are some of my favorite things I picked up this year in 2017. So this video is not going to be in order from like my least favorites to favorites or anything like that. It's more so going to be jumping from genre to genre, seeing some of the records I ended up loving, to get to know as well, and get the word out about them, as I obviously think they deserve the recognition and deserve to be heard. Going to start out with some of the rap, hip-hop, experimental hip-hop, instrumental art stuff, I guess you could round it up as, that I picked up this year. First, we have Ritualized from Philadelphia rapper Lush Life, an album I was first drawn to as I was scrolling through releases on undergroundhiphop.com, and immediately it caught my attention with that pretty artwork they get going on there. Love that pink, green, and yellow color palette. Lush Life hits us here with a pretty solid album, nothing too crazy good, but some solid tracks here and there for those who don't care to dive too deeply or seriously into a rapper's lyrical choices. You can definitely see he worked hard on the production here, as this thing has some satisfying and polished cinematic, dynamic, and triumphant style hip-hop beats. It could get kind of stale though, as he kind of has the horse blinds on with that style choice. And to those who are kind of tired of hearing this like rapper who's constantly on the come up, that feeling like they're constantly focusing on being this refreshing rapper who wants to just move away and make everyone move on from like modern radio played mumble rap or something like that. You guys might find this album then to be a little too unnecessarily wishful for what's actually going on in the hip-hop scene right now. But personally, if I just lay back, I find myself spending this quite a bit, as certain stretches of the album, though having a stubborn one-sided flow and production style as previously mentioned, can sometimes not be ignored, and you just end up bumping your head to it. Can't really explain that. It's easy, simple hip-hop when you really break it down, I guess. I also ended up adding 2 more records to my Doom collection, the highly acclaimed Mad Villain, where he was joined with producer Madlib, and one of his earlier works, Operation Doomsday, that was remastered on a 2-disc with like some really sweet artwork. You can't really see it on the camera, I feel, but it's kind of like a texture thing going on. It's sweet. It's got the mask in there. It's cool. I'm pretty sure we've all heard about MF Doom at this point. Easily one of my favorite rappers and producers of all time, with his infectious, stumbling flow that always somehow catches itself into the next measure, even when you think it's not. It provides you with some of the most intriguing hip-hop listening experience you could ever have. And in terms of the production on here, both of them sound great, and it's fun jumping from one of these albums to the other, specifically as we can see how much Doom's style evolved between the years of recording each of these albums. I think I bought these off eBay. I don't really remember. It was pretty early in the year. But if you guys want some good hip-hop, can't go wrong with MF Doom. Definitely pick it up, and I hope you take a peek at it. Now let's tone it down a little bit, and let's move on to the highly praised, nostalgia-inducing chill hop producer known as Ginseng and his album Life, an album I was super excited to see come to life on LP, as we've seen Ginseng produce a ton of stuff over the years, but none of it was ever ported on vinyl. So when I saw this on vinyl digital, I kind of freaked out, and I was like, I gotta get this right now. Out of any albums to have pressed by him, this one contains my favorite song by him, Reflections, where he pulls out this super sweet, emotional, high-pitched vocal sample. I mean, I always end up being a sucker anyway for these soulful vocal samples in a hip-hop track, but this one is a definite killer. It'll literally poke you right in the heart. It sounds so good. Cop this off vinyl digital and sounds great. 100% satisfied with the pressing, as they managed to bring out the best of a lot of the lo-fi sounds they had to work with. It's like playing a song that has the sound quality of a crackling record player in real life. Weird, right? Hopefully we see more of Ginseng come to vinyl in the future. Next at bat, we're gonna take a look at Milwaukee producer and rapper Milo with his 2017 album Who Told You to Think. I found out about this guy in like late 2016, where he had a pretty dedicated following at that point, and I honestly don't know how he slipped under my radar. I gave him a listen and was immediately drawn to his over hypothetical yet artistically practical lyrical composition. I think a lot of rappers nowadays, as I was mentioning earlier with Lush Life, they try to just bring back like an older style and prove a point where there's really not that much to it. I think when you try to prove a point that much, it kind of just drives away from the main goal of building something, a connection between you and your musical audience. I mean, to me, that's at least what I find music to be. Yeah, a lot of these rappers to me nowadays, it's just like it's a process of rinse and repeat, which will obviously and inevitably end up leaving a musician falling flat on their face when that musical reinforcement they decide to back up on is sucked dry. Milo, on the other hand here, provides something undoubtedly refreshing. With each release, he's got this quirky, charming, untamed flow and word choice. And although with this album specifically, I didn't like it as much as some of his earlier stuff, like I really like So the Flies Don't Come. Check that album out if you get a chance. But on here, you can definitely see some beats that are way more instrumentally meaty and fortified compared to his earlier stuff. Lots of different sounds going on here that work well, further proving his desire to create something intelligent more than anything. Good job on here, Milo. And now let's take a look at Freshly Squeezed by Canadian hip-hop producer Limes, an album I regularly listen to that I was also really excited to hear was going to get the vinyl treatment. This album has always been an album that knows exactly what it is and nothing more. It's a simple fusion jazz hip-hop blend with no crazy intricate sounds or unnecessary mishmash of filter overabundance. It's delicate, romantic, and the perfect background music to spin on a chill night at home or with a loved one. I love the green transparent vinyl too. Vinyl digital, once again, as always, it's like they always produce these really cool chill hop. They produce a lot of chill hop stuff. If you're into that, check them out because you're gonna find that stuff there. But yeah, the green vinyl looks awesome, and I feel like the camera doesn't really pick it up as well since it's sitting on my all black record player, but it's definitely pretty. And lastly, for my hip hop albums at least, we're gonna go with one of my favorite hip-hop pieces of all time. That upon seeing it come to life on vinyl and I found out it was coming out, I literally threw my credit card at the computer screen. I was that ready to buy this. Toki Monsta's Midnight Menu. If you've never heard of this album yet, please exit out of this video and get on it. Be prepared to be soaked in immediately with the first track, Gamble, followed by the rest of this album that is just as rewarding to your ears as it takes tons of different types of genres, sounds, and everything, I guess, and just it like warps everything together to fit in these abstract, enthusiastic, and up and down sounding beats that muffle and cut on the snare or the kick drum, and it's like a bumpy ride, but it's like smooth bumpy, if that makes sense. It's an experience where like the tracks, like they start rising, like things get happier sounding, and it's like it's every second it varies. It's like a stock. It's like it'll sound really happy and then all of a sudden it'll just drop. Like Toki Monsta will drop it with this bellowing trumpet or something like that, and it really sticks to you and you're like, wow, this is a pretty wild ride. Do I even have to discuss how beautiful the color choice here is on the vinyl? From the cool graphic on the inner sticker to the color combination, this album is the playground to my record collection Metropolis. Next, I want to move on to some of the electronic, synth-wavy, and poppy records I picked up this year. Wanted to discuss 3 specifically that I picked up. First, let's talk about Life of Leisure, the 2009 EP released by American singer-songwriter Washed Out. When I first heard this album back in high school that year, it was just another solid collection of tracks that elevated the lo-fi synth sound the music world was really starting to dig their hands into in the late 2000s. I remember like all I listened to that year of high school, I think it was my sophomore year of high school, all I listened to was stuff like this and Phoenix, Passion Pit, and then the next couple of years we got hit with Toro y Moi, and then, you know, the rest is history after that. Decided to pick this up when the song Lately off of this album started playing on Pandora while I was at my office one day this year, and I just kind of remembered how much I really liked this album back in the day, so I thought, you know what, why not? Let's buy it. It can't be that expensive. Life of Leisure is a 45, so for my Vaporwave family out there, sounds pretty sweet when spun as a 33. If you own this thing, give it a try. It would make a pretty sweet Vaporwave album purely from being slowed down. Don't need to do anything else to it. And next up, we have one of my favorite albums of the year, regardless of it being pressed on vinyl, Ti Amo by Phoenix. It's a synthwave dream. This album focuses on the aesthetic and vibes of a 70s Italian super disco, summertime romances in the streets of a Sicilian village, and the aromas of flowers falling into the nearby ocean shoreline. That was pretty lame, but that's how this album makes me feel. It's a definite twist up for Phoenix. They stay true to that synthwave indie rock blend style that's developed so well by them over these years, but they still consistently try something new every time they make something, and this one is no exception to that. I love the aqua colored transparent vinyl. Really complements the feelings that this album's going for. Ended up getting this for a pretty sweet steal too. I got it for like 10 bucks at a local record shop and was more than happy to welcome it into my vinyl record fam. I also wanted to showcase In Our Heads by Hot Chip, one of the albums I picked up this year at the Brooklyn Flea Record Fair in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. If you guys never heard about it, I don't know if it's a consistent thing every year, but if it is, definitely go. It was awesome. Really overwhelming. They had a ton of records there, but I had a blast. Anyways, Hot Chip's 2012 album In Our Heads is my personal favorite from the bunch, always providing me with some clean, simple indie tronica fun, and now spinning it on vinyl, pretty awesome to have. The music sounds like it's celebrating itself. It's such a happy collection of songs, and maybe it could be a little too cheerful sounding at times for some people, but I find them to be like a more youthful, ecstatic sounding version of Brooklyn's native synth pop duo Holy Ghost, which I also love. So it's fun to dive between both of those bands where you get like a blending of this similar sound, and they both do it kind of different, so it's nice to see this, and it's cool to have it on vinyl. Love the purple color on this. It's also a 2-disc LP that comes with a yellow vinyl that I forgot to get on camera, so sorry about that. Now onto some of the rock stuff I picked up this year. I've always been pretty into progressive rock, mathcore, post-hardcore, and all that kind of stuff, and I really got some stuff this year that I'm pretty happy to finally own on vinyl. First and foremost, I finally completed a long time goal of mine this year, and that is to have an entire Fall of Troy discography on vinyl. Their stuff goes for pretty expensive prices, even the represses. I managed to grab Enjoy the Ride's pressing of their beloved first 3 albums, and I also picked up a tour exclusive pressing of their most recent album, OK, at one of their shows this year in Brooklyn, New York. These guys have been my favorite rock band of pretty much all time, especially in terms of influence. I would have never picked up, I played drums and bass and piano basically, but I really would have never picked any of those instruments up if it wasn't for this band. They were just, I just remember being back in middle school and just always being blown away by these guys. If you're interested in some serious instrumentation, have never heard of these guys before, listen to any of their stuff from their earlier days. It's just an unbelievable blend of these like screaming to melodic vocal things going on from their guitarist Thomas Arak. It's awesome. Like, honestly, one of the greatest musicians I think I've ever heard. He's sick. Definitely take a look at everything they've produced, and also check out the color variants for these guys. Absolutely gorgeous. In terms of their audio quality for the 3 pressings from Enjoy the Ride records, the audio is kind of wacky on some of them. I was starting to realize that some of the instruments were left out in certain parts. I know in one song, for example, there's a section following a breakdown where there's only a guitar playing, and for some reason, that part is like completely cut out. And it's like but they don't remove the silence either, so it's just like 22 seconds of silence. I mean, maybe I just got a bad pressing or something, but who knows. It really doesn't matter though, because it's nice to just physically own these on vinyl, and for the most part, they do sound good. Next, I decided to take a chance when checking out my cart at Polyvinyl Records, and added this guy to my purchase purely from how cool I thought the album art was. I've never heard of these guys before, and it surprisingly ended up being a pretty cool release. Here we have Here Comes Everyone, the 2004 album by the band Aloha. This album is such an easy, breezy, enjoyable listen, as it warms up what would have been at its core a pretty standard alternative indie album, with the use of these really well-placed coatings of electronic influences and melancholic upbeat riffs. It's like a really happy sounding oasis, with more filtering and range that reaches away from purely using instruments and like one synth, if anything. It's a nice early 2000s album that I had no clue even existed, and I find myself spinning it a lot actually. Sometimes I guess it's nice to judge a book by its cover, because the inner mechanisms waiting to be discovered can prove to be pretty worthy. And one of my favorite records I got this year is Philadelphia rock band Palm's 300 limited run of their EP Shadow Expert on blue vinyl. This album is a beautiful mess. Really the best way to describe it. It's a quick EP played at 45, so it's over before you know it. It might be for a good reason actually, as it's weird. It's inconsistent sounding. Its overly looped guitar infrastructure gives you just enough of a sound that you've never heard before in your life, and right before it could become a little nauseating due to its wackiness, it ends up leaving the party sooner than expected. It's like a 20-minute EP, and not even, I think. Really leaves you wanting more. It's a delivery the band cooks up hard by tying together an instrumentally frenzied song structure that is without a doubt original and clever, and I'm excited to see what they do in the future. I think they have a lot more growing to do, and I'm not saying like this album is immature or anything like that, but just the they're good. Like, the potential is pretty sweet, so I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. I currently have their next album, Rock Island, patiently awaiting as a pre-order. I think it's coming out in February, so I'm really excited for my next dip in the piranha-filled river of Palm's crazy sound style. Good job on here, guys, and I'm excited for the future. And to wrap these vinyls up, you know I gotta end with my Vaporwave. Gotta end with it. And for real, I know I talk a lot about the concept of Vaporwave evolution this year specifically, potential of it all, and the branching out that it could possibly have in the future due to it just growing so much. But seriously, this year has been a huge year for Vaporwave fans and musicians producing in the community alike. We are seeing artists not only grow with their sound, but beginning to brand themselves and provide us with much more mediums to listen to, from vinyl pressings to live performances. I picked up a bunch of Vaporwave vinyl this year and still have some more waiting to come in the mail, so there's more that I've yet to even experience. Please note, I've done a vinyl review on a bunch of these already as of this video, and I plan on doing a vinyl review of every Vaporwave vinyl I own, so eventually you're going to see every single one of these in this video being, you know, reviewed in more depth. Keep a lookout on those, and if you're interested in seeing the ones I've already made, hit that subscribe button, jump on that channel, and you'll find them there. So first, let's knock out arguably my favorite pressing this year from the community, TURNTABLE by Cat System Corp. I still think I'm pronouncing that wrong, even though people are telling me like the right way to pronounce it. I'm just too lazy to like sound out the way they spell the sounding of it, if that makes sense. From the sound quality Vinyl Digital provides us with here, to the beautiful color and overall gorgeous package, this album is a great example of why Vaporwave deserves to be on vinyl. While a lot of people might think a big chunk of Vaporwave wouldn't translate well due to its already ironic low quality sound, which sometimes they're kind of right about that, it's albums like these though that are the exception. They're produced at a standard way higher than a lot of the other albums in the community, and it sets apart artists like Cat System Corp due to the well-developed songs they take the time to create. This was pressed as a limited 300 run on mint green, and I always get the urge to play this. It's a killer record for sure. Next, we're going to take a look at Digital Dance from Software, an album that sounds like it's straight out of an educational PC game from the early 90s. Peter Mergener, I think it's how you pronounce it, sorry if I butchered that if you're watching this, and Michael Wesser, sorry, no N, used the concept of high-tech computery visuals, sounds, and atmospheres to influence and direct their music to a higher being, one that has emotion despite its computer state. This is a seriously thick record too, and 100% Electronica, who pressed it, really hits here with some nice quality sounding tracks that transition onto vinyl pretty well. It's an emotional bionic soundtrack that paints this computer world to possibly be more beautiful than reality itself. I love the type of blue they used on here, really satisfying to look at as it spins, and love throwing this on while doing some work. Another pressing from 100% Electronica I picked up this year was Deep Fantasy by Surfing. The initial run of this was done on a really cool looking see-through transparent vinyl record, but I got the standard black for this guy. I didn't make it for the first run. This album, in my opinion, gives a more open arms approach to the Vaporwave sound, with its roots deeply integrated into simple concepts, with nothing too eerie sounding that we would tend to see in something like I'll Try Living Like This by Death's Dynamic Shroud. I do find some of the lo-fi effects on the pressing here to be a bit cruddy though. Certain sounds seem to wash into other sounds, and it definitely doesn't seem intentional or anything like that. Makes it a bit cloudy, but I guess that ironically works well for Vaporwave. There's like no answer to this stuff sometimes. Like I don't even know what to say, but overall it's a good job. I mean, I like the songs on here. It doesn't sound that bad. Good job 100% Electronica, and good job Surfing. Talking about Death's Dynamic Shroud, we also saw that get pressed this year. Another colossal hit that was pressed on vinyl we were all excited to have in our collection. Quiet Earth Records, no pun intended, kind of quietly produced these things. Like it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's awesome to see this beloved Vaporwave collaborative we know as Death's Dynamic Shroud be executed pretty well onto vinyl. And in terms of the production, not the sound, but in terms of getting it to us, like this thing was posted and then they ran it at a pretty large quantity. I ordered mine and got it like in 3 days. That does not happen for Vaporwave vinyl. Like we all know how long we've been waiting for some of these, so good job there, Quiet Earth Records. This is a gorgeous 2 LP package here with some high quality rendered artwork on the jacket and the inner jacket of the record. It folds open into this beautiful presentation. Hearing this glitchy, chaotic masterpiece that's ironically beautiful yet broken, it ends up being inevitably hard to look away from on vinyl, and it really wrapped up the end of the year for Vaporwave pressings being announced. Definitely cop one of these if you want an experience that feels like you're falling down a black hole full of rainbow colored triangles. And next, we're going to look at the highly awaited repress of the groundbreaking Birth of a New Day, the collaborative project from HKE and Telepath known as 2814. The initial pressing of this record via Dream Catalog, which also made this repress, it sold out extremely quick and was being resold for hundreds of dollars online. Luckily, luckily the repress was announced, making this thing available again for all of us who didn't have the chance to buy. The second I saw this thing up, I had to buy it. I think I was at work too. I ran to my car. I always leave my wallet in my car, which I have to stop doing. I literally got it in the mail today, at the day I recorded this video. So I didn't get too long to play around with the record and listen to it, but I did go through it once, and surprisingly, I was kind of upset with the sound quality. I do think Dream Catalog has pressed some way better stuff. For example, A by Telepath or Manipool by Vapor sounded so warm and upfront, with all of its instrumentals sounding so insanely crystal clear, polished, and precisely placed on the record. And this album, the Birth of a New Day one, it sounds a little smoky, but like crappy smoky, like cheap smoke, not aesthetically smoky. Once again, another vaporwave hole I'm falling into where there's no right answer, because in a way, isn't that a good thing anyway? But like, no, I want high quality smoky vibes with this thing, especially if it's on vinyl. And this is not just your average vaporwave album. This album really pushed the boundaries beyond a cliche vaporwave sample based society, and it's kind of hard not having this at the best quality it could be, especially when I was listening to it. You know, the digital versions were pretty good. I mean, that's what we all initially heard and we loved it, but then again, I've only had this for a couple of hours and only got to go through it once, so I'll definitely be revisiting it way more than a couple of times before making the review of this record. To follow that up, I also bought the 2814 album as a bundle when I bought Birth of a New Day. This was pressed on a similar purple vinyl color, and these look really super pretty. In terms of the presentation, they look awesome. I'm glad to finally have these two after waiting so long for Dream Catalog to ship them out. I think there was a problem with the pressing factory and these were delayed, but Dream Catalog handled it pretty professionally. I think they're also giving us some sort of bonus in the future for those who had to wait. I don't think anyone knows what it is yet. I do like Birth of a New Day quite a bit more than this album though. I'm sure a lot of people would also agree with that. It like feels as if like 2814 the album is like a little brother compared to the greatness of Birth of a New Day, especially getting both as a bundle. I'm not going to go too in depth though, as I haven't made a review yet for these two, so expect a really good one in the future where I really get into it for both of these albums. And last but not least, you know it, Floral Shoppe by Macintosh Plus. For vaporwave fans who are also vinyl collectors, everything really led to this moment with this pressing. What an insane ride it has been with the pressing. Some people still don't have this thing, unfortunately, and I really hope you guys get it soon, as it sounds good. It's a really good sounding record. The 2011 Vaporwave Holy Grail finally rests within the confines of my vinyl shelving units from IKEA, forever emblazed into my collection as one of the greats. Old English Spelling Bee, the label that pressed it, provides some sweet artwork, a poster included, and a gorgeous bubblegum pink vinyl record. When buying it, I was really excited to obviously spin the Lisa 420 track at first, but after owning this for a couple of months now, I think I've had this for like 2 months or 3 months maybe, but yeah, after owning this for quite a while, I'm surprised how much I only really spin the B side of this thing. It sounds really good. Every piece on here, every instrument, even like the vocal stuff that you thought would have sounded pretty bad because it's supposed to sound kind of bad, it's not over exaggerated, nothing's left undertowed, like everything's pretty well distributed, and the transition to vinyl sounds surprisingly great, and it's really on par with how it all sounded digitally, which I had doubts on originally. I thought this thing was going to sound really bad, like really bad. I don't spin this thing too often, to be honest. It's at this point, it's kind of like, it's just really cool to have. When I first got it, I was like spinning this thing every day, and then I started spinning the B-side a lot, and if I do ever spin it, like I said, I'd mostly just spin the B-side, as it's kind of refreshing because we've all heard like the first 3 tracks of this album 1,000 times. Without a doubt though, this record just goes to show the potential of vaporwave vinyl for years to come, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. So thanks for everyone who stuck around this far into the video. Hopefully gave you some possible new listens that I know you're gonna enjoy. Really excited to take on 2018 and bring out the best this channel can be. Thanks for everyone who's been along for the ride, and for those here for the first time, I hope you subscribe and stick around to see what I got coming out next. Thanks everyone, much love, your boy. Happy New Year's from Pad Chennington.